Alison Rosen. Alison Rosen is your new best friend. Alison, with her the good times never end. Alison Rosen, doing the wavy pencil dance again. Alison Rosen, Alison's your new best friend.
Hey everyone, hi, hello, it is me, Alison Rosen. Welcome to another exciting episode of Alison Rosen is Your New Best Friend. I am sitting here in Dining Room Studios with the one and only Andy Kindler. Hello.
It's great to be in the dining room. I've heard all about it. I've done your kitchen show, done your vestibule cast.
Right.
It's an East Coast word, vestibule. My parents have one.
I just earlier tonight, producer Jeff referred to the space outside the door as the vestibule.
I can't even believe that. What are the odds? That means there is a God. There you go, new atheists.
Yeah,
you can click off the internet now. I'm saying there is a God. And yes, I am saying it is an old man in the clouds. I just found out. With a white beard.
Do you actually believe in God?
I believe in God, but when I use the word God, I use it how I thought many people used it, to describe something you can't explain. And it's purposely, the word is something you can't put into words. So it's the other side of your brain that isn't thinking. It's a side of your brain when you're playing music or you're doing comedy like me when I'm in the zone. And you just feel like you've lost your mind. You know, maybe the character of Andy Kindler in his younger days may have taken some mushrooms, maybe. The character, not me as a person, for insurance purposes. And you would, when I was in college, we'd take acid, and we would, it would be, we called it spiritual back then, before it became illegal to use the word spiritual, before we had to go underground into the underground areas. So
I do a podcast from there too.
Yes. I don't know why my voice, I just want to show I do have dynamics. Yes. So that's what I call, and do I know that? I love when people ask themselves questions. So do I know it exists? No, I don't believe. I have feelings and insights, but I don't know anything. And also, it's not against evolution. That's the thing. Your new atheists are like fundamentalists. They, yes, we all agree. I can't believe I'm defending religion after all these years. I'd be one of the first people.
Did the character of Andy Kindler used to be more anti-religion?
Well, I would make jokes about religion, and when I was a kid, I feel like a lot of these new atheists are stuck in. They're just like they're 12 years old. Oh, yes,
it's very black and white.
The Bible isn't literal. Yes, we all realize that now. So once you go past the yes, we don't believe in fundamentalism, then I believe you should let people be whatever they want to be. I don't know why I have this voice. I'm usually a man of a million voices. Have you heard my very old man character?
No, but I would like to.
I'm a very old man. I don't get any parts in cartoons except from my regular voice because of my old man character is on my reel, and it's terrible. I'm so old. Oh, my bones are creaky, for I am old. No, all I can do is me, and me is a Jew. Even more Jewish.
Well, maybe, do you think even when you are an old man, you won't get the old man roles?
I am an old man who
man.
lived in a shoe.
I've heard about your wife.
I think that my wife, Mrs. Beardsley. Good night, everybody. No, well, the thing is, the business is good for women as they age. It's fantastic, but not for men. No, that was a joke. That was a sarcasm, whatever you call it. Yeah, no, I think I can. It's a horrible business that we're in. I'm not really in the business, but I can see the campfires. I have communicated with the people in the central area, and it's ageist, it's sexist, it's everything. But a man with a dream like me and my acting chops, you kidding me? They call me the John Lithgow. I overact so much. Well, I'm just because he overacts so much. I don't like the way I kind of want my comedy screamed at me. All right, I get it. It's the third rock from the sun. Anybody else know these old references? Third Rock from the Sun, believe it or not, was a popular show. Just like years from now, nobody will remember. In fact, my joke about this is the way they have to induce a medical coma sometimes for medical purposes.
Right.
The way they do it is they force you to watch 2 episodes back to back of How I Met Your Mother. And How I Met Your Mother, 10 years from now, there won't be a person alive who remembers having seen it, won't remember what it's about. And it's the same thing with Third Rock from the Sun.
My sister, who has good taste in things, in that it's very similar to mine, therefore I think we both have decent taste, confessed to me that
Right.
she likes How I Met Your Mother and she thinks I should check it out. And I felt a little bit like I don't even know who you are anymore. It's
Yeah.
weird how I have that. I don't know who's in the wrong there.
I would. Is your sister? Or
No.
it's not a half sister?
No, she's.
I love when people say that. It's just my half sister. Oh well, then please continue to disregard her. I think you
she's
should
full.
cut. I think you should. Well, I think you should cut her off.
Okay.
Emotionally. No, I have to say, I have to admit, I don't want to admit this. I do have some friends also who like that show.
Maybe there is something to it that we're not open to.
Well, you have to. I think the way to do it is you have to watch it a lot, which means you have to really. It hurts to
I
get into
can't.
it.
Yeah, I don't.
Who cares? I don't care how he met his mother or who met his mother. Is it Bob Saget's mother eventually?
It's Bob.
No
I think it's
spoiler
Bob-
alerts for those people still waiting for it to come out on DVD again.
I think what it refers to is he's telling his kids the
Right.
story of how he met their mother.
That's like My Name is Earl. It was a premise that you could sell to the network.
Mm-hmm.
Here, this is why shows in general blow. And I hate to use language like that, but I know we're on a podcast.
Right.
So like they go, okay, here's the show. And then the executive's listening because he has to take that idea and pitch it upstairs. So, here's the show. It's about a guy who has to make amends to a lot of people. Every show he makes amends. My name is Earl. Here's my list. Boom. Then he sells it. Perfect. You could describe it in one sentence. Beautiful. Until it gets on the air and 2 minutes in, he's going to keep going down that list of people he makes amends to. And it's the same thing as How I Met Your Mother. It's funny for 45 seconds. Let me tell you kids a story. All right. Next week. To continue, where was I 9 years later? That's a sweet gig, that Saget. Was it Saget on that one?
he did the voiceover. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And then Patton's got the thing with the Goldbergs. Why can't
Oh,
I nail myself some incredible... You want to hear my narration?
Yes, please.
Well, I mean, I didn't know whether she liked me or wanted to punch me in the groin. I don't know if that's popular, this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Is that what they would talk about?
Yes, that. There's a great need for that.
For that kind of... Now,
Kind of narration.
there's the Debbie you knew, and then the Debbie you didn't know. That's the one that I met. See, that's what you have to do. That's the one that I met. Andy, can you take that again and just a little bit more, have a little more fun with the second one? That's the one that I met. The worst thing I ever had to do, and I've had to do a lot of terrible things. I dressed up like an inflated globe for Comedy Central once.
What was that for?
It was for a campaign, Just Say No Jay, during the OJ trial. I'll never forget this my whole life because it was so shame-inducing. Mm-hmm. It was some kind of contest that Comedy Central was doing, and I needed the money. Let's not kid ourselves. And like we normally would, I thought for some reason in my head, because I was trying to justify that I'd be wearing a globe on my head, but no, I was dressed up like, I think there was a Pee Wee Herman character called Globey. So I was all inflated, and it's like a nice. They have a fan in there. I don't know
that's
if you've
nice.
done any of that kind
Well,
of work.
I have not, but it's funny you mention this because Scott Aukerman was just on the podcast and he was talking about how when he was young, he worked at Knott's Berry Farm and Disneyland, and he once got trapped in a costume. Like in those days, they didn't have the cooling system inside the costume, so you could only be in the costume for like 5 minutes at a time.
Right.
But he got trapped in the park and he couldn't find the backstage. But anyway, so I just recently became aware of the cooling system in these giant costumes.
Well, it's changed the field dramatically. It's made everyone want to go into it.
Right.
The thing that was so terrible about it was that it was during the OJ trial, and the ostensible goal of the campaign. I just wanted to use the word ostensible.
I love it.
I love it myself. Was to make fun of the OJ circus atmosphere, but it really didn't. And I'll never forget because I kept thinking, "Am I going to see like a family member of someone, walk in and have to go by?" But I did have to see this guy, the CBS News guy. And to this day, every time I saw him walk by me, and I imagined he gave a little, it's so sad. He may have not had that. But every time I watch him, every single day I watch him, or if I watch him, I remember.
You feel like he's still judging you?
I remember it like it's yesterday. It's another one of it's. I'm almost worried I'm going to have too many shameful events, and how will I keep them all in order? So that was terrible. But then this voiceover I did a campaign for El Pollo Loco, where I was in the. It's just a terrible. Who cares what the setup is? But anyway, I had to do a voiceover where I had to say, El Pollo Loco, food you can get fired up about. So I'm not kidding. We did 100 takes, and then at one point the guy says, "Can you make it a little more conversational?" When exactly would that come up in a conversation? The food? Oh yeah, the food is you get fired up about it. yeah. What do you think? Yeah. How do I just? I don't know why he's Leno. Hey, here's something. It's food you get. It's food you get fired up about. Yeah. Maybe the campaign was terrible, and the guy didn't want to. That's the thing that happens, whether it's on TV or commercials. They don't ever say, you know what? Maybe our idea sucked. They just keep like that Jack in the Box commercials. That's nobody's eating Jack in the Box because they're seeing that stupid styrofoam head.
Yeah, they're eating it in spite of it. In
spite of it. And I don't know if this is true or if it's something I made up in my own head, but I really kind of think it's true. This guy auditioned the whole town for this, and he ended up going with his own voice. Does that sound right? And so when you hear that, you go, oh, I can hear it. None of these people are right. I can hear it as if it was coming out of my own head. You know what? I'm styrofoam head guy. This is my chance to go from behind the camera writing the copy, which should be enough, to being the guy, not on camera, in a styrofoam head. That guy, we pay him very little because he doesn't talk. Maybe we rotate him. But I get the residuals forever, and I'm the campaign guy, ad guy, so I just keep telling him it's doing amazing.
Do you think he's like, boy, if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself?
Yes, it's exactly. He
sounds like an asshole.
He's an well, I don't want to say that because that guy could come tomorrow and be one of the 10 to 12 to 15 people who I'm afraid will punch me in the mouth. That's all I'm scared about. I am the guy who's not afraid to say anything. But then I don't want to be punched in the face for it.
Have you ever been punched in the face?
I have not been punched in the face yet, but I know it's going to happen. You know,
it's kind of a rite of passage, right?
No, that's not the way to look at it at all.
Okay.
I look at it as no lady who might never have to be in a fist fight. Ooh. You don't know what it's like out there.
Okay.
In the was that misogynist to say that? No, I always think if I was a woman, I wouldn't be as scared that someone was going to fight me. Although I haven't.
Well, you'd be afraid of other things, though.
No, but I've been watching. My wife and I enjoy the Real Housewives. I mean, we don't enjoy it, but we can't stop watching the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and they got that Brandy on there, and she's like a bully.
She's a podcaster as well.
Yeah, have you heard her podcasting?
No.
So great. Which they do it on the show, and she's like, "This is the way they all are in that show." It's like, I like to have energy. And so if podcasting gets me where I'm going, then I'm certainly along for the ride. As if, it's like as if, yes, you can write your own ticket with podcasting. If the opportunity comes along. No,
right. Who am I to say no to that?
Right, to that.
Speaking into a vacuum.
Only be listened to because you're featuring it on your reality show.
Right.
Right? That's the only reason why I go into Vanderpumps. You think I would eat at Pumps? At Vander's Pump? If it wasn't for
I don't think so. If it wasn't for the sweet promotion on the show.
What is Vanderpump? It's all a dress shop. Everybody has a dress shop.
Right,
in
like
these
Jill
shows.
Zarin and Bobby. They're from the New York. Did you ever watch Real Housewives
I did watch
of
the New York. Well, the one that you can't stop watching and you hope that it's on Laserdisc is the New Jersey one.
I haven't seen that.
With Teresa Guidi. She's in, according
Jail?
to people, either Us or People or Star or whatever's
or
current.
In Touch, yeah.
They're always going into jail or they're going to be coming out soon.
You're right.
Yes. Teresa Guidici, ready for her jail sentence. I want to know, is this a TV jail? Or
right, like Real Convicts, or
is it going to be a stand-up comedy routine thing? I don't know what that meant. Like a stand-up comic would say, "Hey, I wouldn't do well in jail," and then he, goes down the road of this. I'm going to get sexually assaulted because that's hilarious.
I'm laughing.
Have you ever heard one jail bit that wasn't somehow oh, you don't want to, don't wear your pink, wear your pink shorts. Why would I don't have pink shorts, and why would I bring them to prison for me?
Right.
Or they're going to like you in jail. That's the other thing they always say. I don't know why they're saying it to me.
Right. But I feel like the people who are saying it don't have actual jail experience.
No.
Well, this reminds me of something that I saw on your website that I thought was so funny, which was the Hack's Handbook, which you wrote for National Lampoon, right?
Correct.
Back in 1991 or 1994?
1991. You have done your research. And, of course, to do research on me, it takes about 10 minutes, but you have done your research.
I had the 10 minutes to spare.
I only have the one thing I wrote.
But it was so funny. But one of the hacky jokes, the prison thing made me, I thought of prison, and then I thought of the most hacky prison thing, which is, if you drop the soap, don't bend over.
Right, which is also if you go to San Francisco.
Yes, that's what
you could also substitute it. I went to San Francisco. Well, the other way to do it is you go to the club and you find out what the name of. You didn't know it was a gay bar, right? So I went to Captain Butt Rumpers last night, and everybody was pretty damn friendly in there. I got to tell you. If you drop your soap, well, I don't know why you'd have soap at the club, but if you were going to go in the shower there, Captain Rumps, kick the soap to Oakland, which is just like Rupert Pupkin saying, I grew up in Clifton, New Jersey, and if you grow up in Clifton, New Jersey, and you fall below a certain poverty line, they send you to Passaic. Have you seen King of Comedy? Yes. And have you seen it, Allison?
I have, yes.
Allison, this all of a sudden was Mr. Hack's Handbook, Mr. Expert on Comedy, trying to nail you that you didn't watch a classic. Because that's the that's what people love, is to find out what you haven't seen.
I know.
I didn't watch I just recently, 2 years ago, watched Caddyshack just to get over the shame of having to tell people I never saw Caddyshack.
Well, I just listened to you on Stop. Okay. Full confession. I listened to the beginning of you on Stop Podcasting Yourself.
Right.
Just because I ran out of time, though. Not because I wasn't thoroughly entertained, because I was.
I'm riveting.
But you are. But you, on that podcast, you said that you used to lie a lot about things, and you're
Yes.
just going to come clean with you.
Oh.
Like, you're like, who is Werner Herzog? Or what did he do?
I think I may know who he is now, but I realized that I've been lying my whole life. For example, I used to go to summer camp, and I would I'd write letters to my parents, and for some reason, I did like to catch frogs, and then I'd let them go. I wasn't like, cool.
Right, catch and release.
Catch
frogs.
and release. So maybe I caught 1 or 2 frogs over the summer. I had to present myself as if I was like the frog catching champion, and I would just lie. I said, "Oh, I caught 12 frogs this week." Why am I? Who do they care? Mm-hmm. What am I getting from it? What am I going to up? They're going to give me a higher allowance when I get back to town. It's like that Norm Macdonald joke where he goes, "You ever lie for no reason? You don't know why." And someone says, "You see that movie with Willie Nelson and the horse?" Yes. And so he says, why did I lie there? What did I stand to gain from that sticking lie? But what foreign movies, jazz. Things that I have interest in, but not a lot of knowledge.
Well, because for me, it's that thing, and I think I'm like I've turned over the leaf that you sound like you've turned over, which is now I'll just admit it. But it was just years of not wanting the person to be like, "What you have? Oh my God!"
That's true. Yeah,
and they always do that.
That's true, but I wish I could admit that that's what it was. I really did want to be someone who had seen those movies. Mm-hmm. And, what are you talking about? You mean Bergman? Well, actually, I've seen 1 or 2 Bergmans, so that's why I present myself as maybe the foremost Bergman
scholar
on the planet.
Right.
If I have any, exaggerating is still, I don't know what it is about us. It's probably when you're a kid, you don't want to do anything that will get. Also, I memorized things when I was a kid that I just assumed was true, like that Eddie Haskell from Leave It to Beaver went to Vietnam and got killed, and that was never true. All these different, or the Beaver there were all these different stories that was way before your time, Allison. None of these references mean anything to you.
Thank
if I said to you Dobie Gillis, you'd have no idea, right?
I know the name.
So you know the name.
But the Leave It to Beaver stuff, that really spoke to me. So
because that is still in reruns. I loved that show when I was a kid. Oh my God, that Beaver was quite a rascal.
Well, the thing with him is you just never knew what he was going to do next.
No, and he would always get in trouble. You know what show I really loved, and I don't know if this you want to segue into Things Andy Enjoys.
Sure. I almost wish I had a song for that.
Things Andy Enjoys. Boy, oh boy. All right, let's not ever hear that version. No, the Wonder Years I love too.
Oh, yes. And that also had a narration.
Yes. Who was the narration? Why did I say that so?
Was it Daniel Stern?
Aha. And it was Richard Dreyfuss in Stand By Me.
Mm-hmm. We know
we'll be back. We'll be back with more. Who was that narrator?
Who was in stuff?
My favorite one was Odysseus. I don't know what I'm saying. The Iliad and the Odyssey. Isn't that a narration? I don't understand.
The first
anything.
narrator?
I don't know what a protagonist is.
It's the
lead.
The main character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this is the antagonist, the guy who's after him.
I think so. It's like the guy who wants to punch you in the face. You have
Don't
10
bring
to
it
12
up
of them.
again. I'm scared. What if I get punched in the face on the way to the car? And worse yet, it's not related to my career. That'd be terrible. It's a random act of violence. I thought it'd be definitely based on my material.
So Andy Kindler, you are from New York. Is that
Queens.
correct? Queens.
Well, yeah, you said New York. I said Queens like it was a correction. Whoa,
you were just
whoa.
getting more specific.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's good.
It's not like, because I don't want to be one of these people who leaves the implication that they're from Manhattan.
Right. Do you feel like that would be being phony?
Yeah, because Manhattan I always feel like is the real city. And when I was a kid, Queens could have been, the part of Queens, like people who live in Queens now, comedians, and it's cool. You know, Long Island City.
Right.
Jackson Heights. It was not cool when I was a kid.
What was it like?
Just like, oh, there's that subway and here's another corner. You know, it's just boring. Good pizza, always, but that wore off after a while.
Did it feel suburban?
Yes. It felt like Leave It to Beaver, but without the beautiful, like to me, Leave It to Beaver was like a wonderland. To me, if you drive down the Long Island Expressway and you drive down that for about an hour, you learn that the traffic slows not because of the traffic. It's people just give up. They go, what am I rushing? What am I rushing to get to the Meadowbrook Parkway? Where am I running to get to Belmore?
They've lost the will to drive.
Hicksville? I have to get to Hicksville quick?
They should just change the name of Hicksville.
They should change the name. The whole vibe there on the island. It's very Billy Joel out there.
I think they call it H-Town. When I lived in, well, not to drop a name, but Manhattan, I dated a guy who lived in, I don't know if he lived or worked in Jericho. No, Massapequa. I don't know. A whole bunch of Long Island names are coming to mind.
What do the H-Town stand for?
I think that they referred to Hicksville as H-Town. Like they had some snazzy name for it.
Are you sure you're not giving that this isn't in the Entourage movie that the guy who directed Queens Boulevard, later on his sequel was H-Town? Remember those? Did you watch? I watched every episode of Entourage, always thinking it was going to be sarcastic, but they would just do it. It would be just straight down the plate. Yeah, let's high five on a plane. How can you high five on a private plane and not make that into a joke?
I know.
And there was that guy who directed Queens Boulevard, and he would call everybody suits. He called E. He would call E a suit. And then Vince is it Vince?
Yes.
He was in Queens Boulevard. He was so good. They did Medellin.
Right. Queens Boulevard was how he made his fortune to move out to LA, right? Was that his hit? I'm forgetting.
I forget. Or, yeah, I don't know.
You know, I had Turtle. I heard you talking about Turtle.
Yeah, because he was on the Best Show last night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I had him on my podcast. He was really good.
He's a sweet person.
Yes.
You realize all of my, it's not even animus, although I like that word. I just think
it's up there with ostensibly.
It's ostensibly up there. No, to me that shows you have to mock that show.
Yeah.
But I know the guy who created it. He doesn't like when you mock it. That's another guy who I think could punch me in the face.
Doug Ellen.
Yeah, he wouldn't like. He goes. It's never. You know how they go. Oh, people love you know how people love because I love Rickles is hilarious, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone loves when Rickles makes fun of them. Not so with me.
Really?
No.
Well, that
because he really
us...
thinks he's making. He thinks Queens Boulevard is a great. I don't know what he's thinking.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go. Okay, so let's go back to you in Queens.
Let's not make it all about Entourage. Yeah, me in Queens, growing up.
Growing up.
Okay.
What was your childhood like?
Well, I was the one of 3 kids. I was the youngest child, and I was adorable. Mm-hmm. I had a droopy eyelid when I was younger.
It's corrected itself,
It has
though?
been corrected.
Oh, it has been corrected.
Yeah, but when I was like 4, 3 or 4. And you see people with what I had when it's not corrected, it's just like the lid will droop down halfway. And I've had that, let it go, I might have gotten some more character actor work. But I didn't.
Right.
But you know what? I don't want to go too much about my droopy eyelid because it's all going to be in my book. And it's so riveting. And so I grew up and, yeah, I was the youngest. But my brother, nobody beat me up because I was like 4'11" until the senior year of high school where I
Had a growth
sprung
spurt?
up to 5'5.5". Or as my friend Boris Hamilton says, Cinco de Mayo. Yeah, so that was and it was pretty. I have to say, it was a cushy childhood. I wish it was more struggle.
Were you happy?
You know, I've always been happy. You know,
I don't get that from you.
Well, you don't get that from my comedy,
Perhaps I
Or
don't get
my
it from
Twitter.
the character.
from
Just
the Twitter.
I just wouldn't think. I wouldn't think that you would describe yourself as someone who's always been happy.
I don't know why I went and took that sip and went,
Maybe you're buying time or thirsty.
I would say, I'm not saying that I'm well, I guess what I'm saying is I'm not a depressed person.
Okay.
So I wake up in the morning, I'm not depressed. I have my own issues. I'm not going to, but the anger that I feel, I mean, I feel like I do have I feel like the best part of me is my anger producing comedy, but I also think it's also the worst part of me because sometimes I can't let it go.
Right.
So that's what it's kind of like the strengths of some comedians are also their weaknesses. So, like, for example, I always think I'm doing worse than I'm doing on stage, so I'm always drawing attention to it. Well, that's the thing that makes me different than other people. But then sometimes it's like, Jesus Christmas, let one go by without they were laughing. I'm sorry they weren't crying and fainting for you, or that you weren't healing the lame. I don't know if you can still say that. But I'm generally upbeat. I am upbeat, like I'm in a good... And I'm also not confrontational in person. Because it was very important for us to be nice when we were kids. I mean, that might have been a little bit too much stressed, but...
That your parents stressed that?
Yeah. Because they didn't want to make waves, basically. But I've always felt like when I meet somebody... or whatever, I try not to be mean.
That's so interesting. My parents were big on not making waves too. Although I think for them it was sort of fear-based. Like you don't want to become a target. You don't want to be singled out.
Right. Well, you're Jewish.
Yes.
So we have a genetic
right.
Thing from even before Hitler. A lot of people think Hitler. We have the fair.
He just jumped on the bandwagon.
Yeah, I used to, there's a club called Rascals, and they taped all these comedian sets, and they taped a lot of my sets when I was pretty terrible. So then they put it out online, and I got an acid wash jacket on, whatever the deal is. But I heard one line I did, I was like, oh, it wasn't pretty good. My line was, we're obsessed with Hitler because we can't remember anything about the Pharaoh. So I thought, hey, that's not bad. But that comes from that. And my parents had that big time. And my mom had like her own issues as a child with her mom. So it was like, don't make waves, don't cause trouble.
What were her issues with her mom?
Just her mom wasn't very nice.
What'd your parents do?
Well, my mom's still alive. My dad just recently passed away, which you know because I told you.
Yes.
And I've been trying to talk about it on stage a little bit. I say the opening line is, my dad died last month. So far, not hilarious yet. You know what I mean? It's just a premise. I got to work more on it. But basically, I talk about, look, folks, give me a chance. I talk about the fact that I'm sorry you didn't make it into a Facebook event. Because, people are very personal on Facebook, and I definitely they want to tell you who passed away, and so I get it. But I didn't want to do that because I don't know. But people are doing, I want to do a bit about how people are like, my mother's just collapsed on the floor. I don't know what I should do. Should I call 911? I'm here on Facebook. Maybe I should. What do you people think? Why don't you weigh in? I don't think she's breathing. It's like, get your mother to the place and then go on Facebook.
Yeah.
Go wait till she's in the operating room.
Right.
So,
then tweet.
But then I'm telling everybody in person. So it's like I'm wearing a shirt that says, ask me about my recently deceased father.
And so I shall. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. But then the only thing I've gotten to work about it was where I say, my dad, this is what my dad would have wanted me to do, weak material about his passing. This is exactly what he wanted me to do. No, I actually am doing okay. And my mom's doing okay, which is really great. But I never thought the thing about it is I never thought it would happen to me. I was told it would not happen specifically to me.
The it being having to mourn.
Parent die.
Right.
It's like, it's not right. And I've had a lot of friends and close people in my life who've had lost sisters. And I don't want to bring the podcast down, but I feel
this podcast goes down.
Oh, let's go down. But I feel very lucky that I have my dad's, and also that I loved my dad and got along with him. So, I mean, and not just got along with him. I got along with him. We were good roommates. No, but he was hilarious. My dad was absolutely the funniest person I've ever known. So that's where and my whole family's, I think, pretty funny. Mm-hmm. I would like to say that they're funny.
Say it. Do it.
My family is a solid. This joke would work in the 80s, I would say. My mother is a solid middle. See? But do you get that reference? Nobody would get that reference now. Because of the opening act.
Yeah, that's what I thought. See, I doubted myself. I did because I
got it,
and then you asked if I got it, and then I was like, now I'm afraid to say I think I get it.
Yeah, but that's still a word that, like, I would say 95% of people don't get.
Right. To middle. To be
because
the middle
it's like
act.
that's just that brief comedy boom time period where we thought it would last forever, where there'd be 3-act shows. I mean, it's still that way in the road, but So
I have. Because I like to worry about the future, I have at times sort of tried to think myself through what will it be like when I lose a parent. Because my dad's a lot older than my mom, and he's had some health issues, and I just know that I'm just not getting out of this one without losing people close to me. And a therapist said to me, no matter how much you prepare yourself, you cannot prepare yourself.
Was it your therapist?
Yes.
Because it was like a party. Hey, look, you're a therapist. Doc, my arm hurts. Can you help me? The thing that's weird about it is I think that's probably true. It is not, in my mind, I had the worst case scenario that I just wouldn't even be able to hold the phone when I got the news. So it hasn't been that. But then a lot of people have told me things that I think are true, which is people have lost, like parents have told me, you don't judge how you're dealing with it, because, like, to me, I feel like, I'm good or something, but then all of a sudden I don't feel so good. And my problem is, going back to the anger thing, is being angry a lot. I've been angry a lot, more than normal, at stupid things. But not like I never was a road rage guy. It's not like that, but it's just like
what kind of things are making you angry?
like the things that bother me, like the Muslim bashing or all these things, or racism, all these things. Like when I see it now, or I see like how bad the cable news is, I actually feel like, well, they're so bad they can actually affect me or something. And then you start to realize, this idea of where you know what's happening in the world all the time is not a natural thing. I mean, you really could literally just find tragedy every second. You could have like a camera on and just like where everyone's dying. They say someone's dying every 9 seconds. So maybe, hey, CNN eye reporters, get out there and record people as they're deceasing. And you could, right now there's a storm killing someone somewhere. So you could drive yourself crazy with that. And that's why I just have to, but I realize what I'm doing is I'm not feeling certain things because there's that, I don't want to feel it. So so that's the thing. I think when they say it takes a while and you don't know how it's going to happen, I kind of feel like I'm through the woods, but I think it's a illusion. Right.
Well, yeah, my understanding is that it's real up and down, and that the phases of mourning that we're familiar with, it's not linear. You don't go through, it's not like just this one and then this one and this one and then depression and then acceptance and then you're done. Like you move around and they come back. And
yeah, and of course if it's a I again, like I'm always like someone who says, "Oh, well, it wasn't this bad." I mean, it wasn't a complete shock to me.
Was he sick?
Well, my dad was like he was 88, but he he was very healthy lifestyle. He smoked till he was 30, and then he stopped smoking. So when he was 60, he got this like cancer on his tongue.
Mm-hmm.
May have had nothing to do with smoking. And then that kept coming back, and he had some really tough. He had he had an operation that was botched.
Oh no!
Like Dennis Quaid's kids. Remember that time when they, what's that drug where it thins your blood out?
An anticoagulant?
Yeah, it's
that Coumadin?
It's not Coumadin. It's the other kind. And what happened was that there were two vials that were similar colors. Like one was a cobalt blue, and one was like a cerulean blue. And so that same thing happened to my dad. They gave him too much of this blood thinner, and so he just caused like a 3-month ordeal. But he got through all of that, and then the last 6 months to a year, he just started to feel. He just got very tired. You could just tell he was tired. But the thing that was amazing about it was that I always think of myself when I am going to die that I'm going to be a coward about it. And my dad was like, not that you should be like brave about it, but he really was. He was ready in a way. So it's got to be way different than when you don't know and it's coming out of the blue and you have no. Like when I went back to Thanksgiving last year, I knew, kind of.
Right.
But the thing is, my whole thing and the reason why I do feel spiritual is that I've had a couple experiences in my life that made me feel spiritual, and one was I got held up when I was working at. I used to sell stereos, the Andy Kindler of the '80s. I used to sell stereos, and someone came in and they held us up, and they tied us up.
Jeez.
And they robbed the store, and they tied our hands behind our backs, and then at one point they were talking, and we thought for sure that they were going to kill us. And in that moment, I only say this because normally I get so scared of any kind of confrontation that I feel like my heart stops. In that moment where I thought I was going to die, I got so calm and was not scared at all in that moment. And then the other thing is when I was 2 years old, I really clearly remember this, that I was like, where it was like, well, just when I was starting to talk but not talking, I must have been able to talk, but like I was young, so maybe I was 3. I got this fever, and it was like 100. I don't know what my fever was. I was yelling for my mom, but she was downstairs. She didn't hear me, and I thought I was in so much terror. And then I said, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And then when I said I'm going to die, this feeling of peace when I surrendered to it was just the most amazing feeling. And it's so real. It's like I'm not making it up. I'm not writing a book about it. I'm not cashing in. So I'm telling you it really happened.
Maybe you should.
Maybe I should. But it just made me feel like that's really what spirituality is that, things are going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's like if
faith.
you look, faith that it's going to work out one way or the other, and the bad things don't last forever. It's like when you look, I always think of this like with all this trouble in the world, but then when you get back in space and you look at the world, it looks just so beautiful. So there has to be all these different perspectives.
Right.
And as long as I don't get tortured, I'm good, because that's my big fear. I can't see that movie Reservoir Dogs ever again. Because there's a torture scene in it.
Well, so what happened when you got tied up? What ultimately happened?
Oh, no, they tied us up and they ran out with the stuff. And then we wriggled free like an episode of MacGyver, ladies and gentlemen.
Were you traumatized for a while?
An interesting thing is the guy who was the manager of the store was more traumatized, and because he saw it differently, I think they more manhandled him a little bit. And so it's just the weird thing is like the idea of like having a fist fight or all these things scares me so much, and like you just don't know how you're going to be. But the thing that was crazy about that was a week. It was on Lincoln Boulevard in Marina del Rey or around that area, Venice, and the next week, on the weekend, the same guys came back in the store.
That seems so stupid.
See, what happened was my manager called me up. It was Monday. He goes, "No one's in the store. Can you want to come in?" And I came in. That was a Monday. And when I came in, they came in. So they knew it was empty. They came back on a Saturday. They thought, I don't know what they were thinking. And they come in, the place is packed. And I, like a zombie, for some reason, I just started walking towards them like, oh, wow. I couldn't believe it. Wow. Then they saw me and they ran out into a car and I got the license plate.
Oh,
I
good.
called the police and the police said, what do you want us to do? What are we going to, what? Where's the fire? What do you, how could, forget about it.
Oh,
Yeah, so.
it's very
They
disappointing.
didn't. I know. I could have ID'd them and I could have used words like the perp.
Everyone wants an opportunity to use a word like the perp. But you had them right. I'm sorry. I'm not going to get too
I had
carried
them
away.
dead-
But they were...
Yeah, and the license plate
Right.
number.
That's what I thought you're supposed to get. I remember a whole episode of Different Strokes where Arnold or Dudley was trying to remember a license plate number. And you had it right there.
I had, because I think in their mind it was like, well, yeah, what are you going to do? Well, you think it was them the other way. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Oh.
It's just ridiculousness.
It really is.
But then what if I had gone to trial and those guys would have haunted me the rest of my life?
That's true.
The guy went to jail for 20 years just because I was a whining baby and didn't want to get tied up.
So when you were saying that you find yourself getting more angry than you would expect, or like you're just noticing how angry you are, were you suggesting or saying that you're getting angry as a way to avoid feeling some of the sadness?
Yes. And I think, well, it's the same thing. Like I'm addicted to, as my wife knows, my wife, before we just moved, we bought our first condo. We bought something. We own it, people.
Congratulations.
In the valley. Eat your heart out. And as we were, and I was using Twitter to avoid, excuse me, I burped.
It happens.
Whatever it is. It's iced coffee. That shows how little physical comedy I do. I have just burped. Before I would use Twitter as an avoidance device. Mm-hmm. So my wife, she was getting so mad because we had to move this goddamn apartment, and I was helping, but not to the degree I should have, because I was arguing with a robot on Twitter who might have been a software program. So she comes around she hears silence from me. She comes around and she comes into the kitchen and she catches me like I'm having an affair, huddled over the stove, replying to some idiot. So that's my problem. Twitter is I love it so much, but that's where it really, Twitter can be the greatest thing in the world, but it's really where all your bad stuff comes up. Mm-hmm. It's like, I hate all these people who are racist, and I hate the way
and there's so many of them on Twitter.
I know. I hate the way the Muslims are being targeted, and I hate the way, like, my mother's a Quaker, and she was Jewish, and she converted. That's a whole long story. But anyway,
my dad is he didn't actually convert to Quakerism, but growing up, he took us to Quaker meetings.
Oh, wow. Where?
The meetings were in Costa Mesa, but he went to Swarthmore, which is, I think, where he first encountered Quakers and became, fascinated with Society of Friends. So
yeah, and there's different types. I mean, the kind of the society my mom's involved with are the greatest people. There's like, they're very peace loving, and there's different sects of it.
Yes.
How was it when you went there?
It was. The meeting was like everyone would sit in a circle and just meditate, and then you stand up when you want to speak. But I was a kid, so the kids would go to what they called either Sunday school or first day school or something, and that had a little more of a structure. And yeah, we went for a while. It always struck me more as a philosophy than a religion, though. I don't know what I thought a religion was, but my best friend growing up was Mormon. So and I would do some Mormon-y things with her sometimes. And in my mind, like, that was a real religion versus my understanding at that point, and granted I was young, of what Quakers stood for was it always struck me as more philosophical.
Well, that's the thing too, and that's why the words become it all becomes about the words, because, when people say, if I'm using the word God as something that I'm not even sure what it is myself, and I'm not defining it as anything, and that it's outside of me, and then you come along and say, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? It becomes a semantical argument. It's the same thing with religion. It's like friends of mine, and people, I mean, it's disturbing to me, religion's full of shit. It's all bullshit. It's like, first of all, you don't know every religion. And like in my mother's case, it is a religion, but it doesn't have dogma attached.
Right.
It's not proselytizing.
It's not about it's about the opposite. Well, for Quakers, the opposite of
you
judgment.
don't even have to believe in God to be a Quaker.
Right.
It's like, although there are just so if people go online, then they're going to start with me. There are more conservative sects. There is even overseas evangelical Quakers, but the kind that you went to and the kind that my mom went to was the exact opposite. And they all came over to my house the Sunday after my dad died, because my mom would go to the Flushing Meeting House, which is like the oldest one in the country. It's in the 1600s. So, cause my mom and dad were antique collectors, and my mom was involved with the Queen's Historical Society, and they all came over to the house. It was the greatest thing. They all sat and they talked about my dad and how, because my dad was like an agnostic, pretty much leaning towards atheism. He just didn't believe in there was going to be anything, but he was a science person, and ironically, I don't know what the word is. People think there's ostensibly. There's science in atheism. There's no science in atheism, and my dad, being someone who's a scientist, would say, "Well, I can't." Who likes science? He's not a scientist. He loved it. I can't say for sure something that I don't even know whether it. But he would, and when I was telling him in the last couple of years about some of these people, because we would argue. When I was like 14, we would argue because I wanted to be like a hypnotist, or I wanted like all these parapsychology things to be true. He was actually worried at some point, but that was like a kid, But
it was a worry for him at some point.
Yeah, like he thought I was going to be some kind of raging like Scientologist or whatever. It wasn't. It just was. We would get into these heated arguments. But when I told him in the last couple of years about these people, he was like, he couldn't even believe it. Why would you? What's the point of being mean towards people just because they believe whatever?
These people being extreme atheists. Is that what you mean when you say these people?
This is the thing too online, is if you call them, they're a very, very a very disturbing group of people, and they're very slippery and they're very intellectually dishonest. I'll give you an example. A lot of people say, well, you're being like a lot of Muslims or something, they're being, you may use the word racist. They're being, and they'll say, well, we're not racist because Islam isn't, it's not a race. So, like, okay, yeah, you win, but you're basically saying you're hating a group of people. Oh, but you're so, but because it's all like, oh, you're so stupid, you think that it's a race that we hate. So it's all this kind of stuff.
Right,
it's new atheists. But then when you say there's new atheists, they don't admit that there is a group.
Right.
Let's say Richard Dawkins is one of them. Sam Harris, Bill Maher is part of this. It's like a new
to you, is
Uber thing. Not Uber.
Like, were you going towards Ubermensch or
something stupid? Doesn't make no sense.
Is it tied with hatred of? Is it tied with hatred?
Yeah. Well, like I look at someone like, and this is where I'm saying. Ultimately, it does become my issue, because if I'm really upset about my dad and I get into this thing where I'm yelling at Bill Maher for 12 hours, I am at some point, he is winning because he's getting to me. So there needs to be a balance. I do think that it's important that I say when something's racist and don't let him, because I am Jewish. I know how this starts. This is what they did in the 30s. They would say, you notice all these people like Marr and all these people, they say all religion is terrible, but you don't see them talk about the Jews, interestingly enough.
What do you make of that?
Because they know they couldn't get away with it.
People are too sensitive to it.
I really think that someone like Bill Maher is actually has bad intentions. And the reason why I say that is because it's all about his own ego and his own narcissism. So he's going to say whatever I'm saying it, you don't want to hear it because you're politically correct. But the Muslims there's something wrong with them. You just don't want to face it. At some point, that's not, and it's also not comedy what he's doing anymore. There's nothing funny about it.
I actually really, really hate that argument. I hate the argument that I'm saying what you're all thinking, but you're just afraid to say it because you're just afraid of what your liberal friends will think.
And that's his exact argument.
Because that's so condescending. It's like, no, I might actually hold beliefs that are different than yours.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with me being concerned about my image, you fucking asshole.
Well, Bill Maher will say, I'm upset at the Muslims because they treat women poorly. Like, yeah, did you get the impression that he's the most forward-thinking male?
He's kind of known planet? For the opposite of that.
He's,
But now, do you make a distinction because
Bill Maher's professional? I'm sorry.
I mean, to me, the more measured argument is not all Muslims do these things that you're saying all Muslims do. Or do you not even want to talk about any sort of fundamentalism that goes on in the Muslim world.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I would obviously what is true is true. I mean, there's no if the name of the group is Islamic State, we know that's in the name. But like the argument that Obama's making and that people like I'm making is they're perverting the religion. And what Obama's saying is that he got in so much trouble for is 100% right. He talked about how, look what happened in the Crusades, look what other religions have done. And to say that they're Islamic, you're basically doing what they want you to do, which is saying it's based in Islam. And the point is, yes, of course, but you can't, of course, they're distorting Islam, but you can't separate that from the fact that, till 1900, we were, look what we did. We went back into Iraq. We lied our way. To me, it was like so obvious the first time Bush and Cheney were talking about Iraq. As a country, we've done these things. It's not just, these are political problems more than they're religious problems. And people will say, look, the guy in North Korea, he's an atheist. Religion's illegal. Like I'll argue online about that. I go, well, the guy in North Korea is an atheist. They go, yeah, but they see him as a god. This is the argument comes back. It's you can't win with these people.
No,
the point
you
is,
absolutely
it can't. Do you really, I'm not saying you, but do people really think that the ultimate thing in Northern Ireland was that the Catholics had a view of the Bible and the Protestants had another view? Of course not. It was sectarian. Their religion became mixed up in things that went back hundreds of years. And there's a very person I read a lot, and her name is Karen Armstrong. She writes about religion. She's really bright. And her thing is like, back in the old days, everything had religion in it. Mm-hmm. So when people say religion causes these things, I just think it's a myth. And you can't go back. There haven't been examples of secular societies except for like Stalin, who was an atheist and killed 30 million people. And does Hitler seem like a good Christian, like a church going guy? I mean, that's the thing. So it's not like, of course, I know that they're saying you go around in the world and say, look at all these Muslims and what they're doing. But look, I'm Jewish, and this guy Netanyahu, I think he's a nut, and he wants to, and the Republicans, and they want to turn. They don't care what happens with the Iran deal or whatever. They just want to have their own power. So am I supposed to say? Am I supposed to refer to Netanyahu as a Jewish extremist? It just gets ludicrous. But it's to serve their thing. Mm-hmm. And it's a weird deal with all these different people. Like with Maher, I think it's more just he just wants to be provocative and popular. It's a weird way to run your career. Right.
Do you believe in life after death?
My thing is more like, I think we're always, if you had to ask me, I obviously don't know. But I would think we're all here in one way, form or another forever, because I just the fact that we can't remember not being here doesn't mean that we weren't here. And I kind of feel like our consciousness, we think our consciousness is in our brain, but who knows? And I think it's kind of all consciousness,
mm-hmm.
So my feeling is that the different thing, time is relative. All these different things are functions of the universe, and that's why it's like a lot of times when you see like when they go, what's his name? Who that just made the movie about? Stephen Hawking.
Oh yeah.
When he says there is no God, whatever, he's still talking about a specific form of God. Religion doesn't answer.
Clouds, yeah.
Religion doesn't answer a lot of like what is love or what is art. That's not what
all
they're
these ephemeral
That's
things.
not what they're. I mean, sometimes I think it all comes together, and you have people like Einstein who seem to be kind of like have a spiritual, like kind of a talked about how the thought experiments
mm-hmm.
and he didn't arrive at things through his rational mind. Because the truth is, if everyone could be like Einstein, then you just like everybody would just add up the numbers and it'd be the best person at adding up the numbers. But there's some kind of magic that happens even with scientists, although they don't have to believe it. There's a lot of people who are funny. Like I believe that comedy comes from some God-like thing because I don't know where it comes from when I'm in the moment of it, and
mm-hmm.
I can't. You can describe it, but you can't say why it happens.
Right.
But you don't have to, like people who don't think about these things, you don't have to think about these things. But I think, why are we here? Where are we going? These are things that people have thought about forever. And it doesn't
There's
mean...
still no answers.
There's still no answers, but it doesn't mean it's some kind of primitive thing.
Right.
Like the beat poets, that time period, they're very influenced by Eastern philosophies. And Zen Buddhism and all those things are about attachment. The Buddha was about not attaching. None of those things depend on you knowing what happens after you die, because you're still kind of guessing. All I know is, back in my mind, I remember when I almost did die as a kid. I'm not as scared of it as had I not gone through that experience.
Right.
Because I think that's the main thing for me is anticipatory fear, and that's the thing that always scares me.
Yes.
That it's like I take martial arts, and I took them because I was scared of
those
fighting.
guys.
And after all these years of taking it, I'm still scared, but at least I know probably how to defend myself. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. It's like it's not like you learn how to do this and you become fearless. You learn how to do it, but when you think about it, I still want to get punched in the nose. It's all anticipatory. Mm-hmm. So you need to buy my book, Allison, which is my new Tony Robbins-like book. You can do it. You will do it. You want to do it. Well, maybe I don't have the book down yet. I want to be a life coach for life coaches.
Oh, that's perfect.
I'm sorry I rambled on. About
No,
these
that's
things.
interesting.
I didn't bring my shtick with me. You got it, Alan.
I said leave the shtick in the vestibule.
That's right. And I had props. You said it's not going to fly, the props.
Yeah, well, because people can't see them.
Look, everybody. If you were here, you'd see I have wax teeth. Not wax teeth. Wax lips.
You could have wax teeth too. Give a whole wax mouth.
How could someone keep calling me without? It's gotta.
Are you not recognizing the number?
Well, hasn't this been going on for they called twice? I don't understand it. Do you answer the phone?
No.
Do you answer the phone? There's no reason to.
We've got to get Jeff a mic if you're going to keep asking him questions.
Does no one know that you exist?
No, they do.
But I just can't stop talking. Everybody has to be part of my thing.
I know. You play to the room. It's good. No, I do not typically answer the phone unless I recognize the number and it's someone that I'm expecting a call from.
Yeah,
but I feel like I should, but I just don't.
That's how they get you.
That's what they want you to think.
Well, that's why people text you. My idea of returning a text is I see the person, I say, I got your text. That's it. Because I can't keep up.
Yeah.
I'm so wanted.
Right.
Everybody wants
a piece of
me.
you.
Exactly.
Yeah. I bet when you meet someone, you don't know what, you know that they want something from you, but like what? What is it? And why do they want to, what are they up to? What's their game? Why do they want to be friends with you? Is it because they really like you, or is it because of what you can do for them?
I remember life before all this stuff happened. You've probably had it your whole life, but there was a time period I remember that you had answering machines.
I remember
that was
those.
It. And I would have a tape. And I've said this before, but I would let it fill up, and I throw it away. I put a new one in, and that was it. And then I wasn't home. I wasn't home. I didn't get your. Before that, it was even better. Before the answering machines, I wasn't home. I haven't been home. Now everybody knows where you are all the time.
I know.
It's ridiculous. They go, "Oh, you weren't home for my text, but then you were tweeting a second later." Interesting.
If I'm avoiding a call or a text.
Right.
I will think about when I tweet.
That's exactly right. See what's happening?
Yes. We're all hiding from everything.
That happens every single day when I have an obligation. Like, you're saying, I'm running late. You got to give me more time on this project. And then they look in your...
Yeah, you can't be on Facebook.
For 3 hours, you're doing pun-based humor.
So how did you get in? Okay, so you had a happy childhood. You had your droopy eyelid fixed. You thought you were going to die, but in general, you were happy. Your dad was funny. You got in fights with him. He was worried that you were heading in the direction of Scientology or something like that. Then how'd you get into comedy?
Well, my dad wasn't really... When we were having these arguments, I don't even think there was Scientology. He was more like going to think I was going to get into parapsychology or medium. Like go to
stuff?
A medium or something.
Okay.
Like that. Yeah, but I never was going to. But that was his legitimate fear when I would be arguing with him about aliens or whatever the thing was. I was a musician. That was my whole goal in life, was to be a musician. Well, not my goal, but from an early age.
What'd you play?
Well, unfortunately, I played violin for many years, and I hated it very quickly. But this is other parts of my life that I'm not revealing to you, of how I would make everybody my parent figure. So I would be afraid to tell like I'll give you an example. I used to deliver papers here when I came out to L.A. I was like 25 years old.
Okay,
and I was a paper man. And the guy who was I would do the route with, he just liked me a lot, and he was hoping that I would take over the route. He was just the sweetest guy in the world. I couldn't take it anymore. When I quit, I lied to him and told him I got a Broadway play back in New York because I'm so scared of confrontation. So in the fourth grade, I took the violin up, and I got tired of it like a week later, but I played it for 12 more years.
You don't want to disappoint people? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's like I make them my parent, or I do this in general too online. It's like, or anywhere. And this is the only thing that's a spiritual release from it is when I remind myself that I'm doing it, I stop doing it. Like I could think, I wonder what Alison thinks about it. How was I in that one time I burped and she must have gone terrible and but why were you going so much about the thing that's amazing to me is that I do feel proud of myself that I am myself on stage, but with someone who agonizes so much about kind of wanting to be liked in a way. So it's weird, and I have to remind myself that you can't do that. You just can't live up to other people. Like in my family, if you'd be afraid if you stop worrying about it, you become a terrible person. You're not going to be a terrible person. I'll never not be hard on myself.
Are you beating everyone to the punch, basically?
It's more like an insidious thing that creeps up on me that I get, it starts small, and then as I see it build up, I see, I'm doing it everywhere. Are you okay? Is my wife okay? Is the guy at the supermarket okay? Is the guy at the bank okay? And so it's all that kind of thing. And so I think that's the thing that is a lifelong goal is to let go of that because it's so much wasted time.
Have you made progress?
I think so because, except the thing like with my dad, then you go backwards a little bit.
Right,
but I think that's natural.
Yeah, I think anytime there's a big, crisis, so to speak, it's going to cause a bit of regression, I would think.
And also, I didn't realize I had ADD until I was in my 50s. So, I have a mind that, so much of life to me is learning what you don't want to do. Like, to me, I was like, I got to write screenplays. I was like, I don't want to write screenplays. So, but I'm not I don't get up early in the morning and write 4 hours. I'm just not.
Apparently, that's the only way you can do it. That's what they say.
So I don't. And so anyway, I was a musician, and then I came out to LA to be a musician.
Still violin?
No. Then I switched to guitar when I was 15, and then I wanted to be Bob Dylan and the Beatles, and then I was in bands in college, but I also did theater in college.
You went to Binghamton?
I went to Binghamton, same school as Paul Reiser. Thank you. And then I came out to L.A., and a director friend of mine from school, he let me stay with him, and he was moving back to L.A., and so that's how I came out here, to be like a musician or maybe some theater. And I just stumbled into stand-up comedy because a friend of mine, we were working at a stereo store together, and he said, I was doing impressions of everybody. He said, you should try stand-up. I said, I don't know if it sounds scary. So I did it with him. I was in a duo for a couple of years.
What were you guys called?
Andy and Bill.
And what's he do now?
He was a therapist. And now he's a therapist. He still is a therapist.
And
he's the therapist you were talking to.
Yeah, he's my therapist, actually. It's weird that I would ask you what the name of the group was when I knew. Right. I just wanted to hear you say it.
You're protecting his anonymity.
Exactly. Exactly. It's the therapist-client confidentiality. It goes both ways.
It does go both ways.
So at a certain point, though, you decided to pursue comedy over music?
Well, yes. I got very distressed about me. I feel like, I don't know about most people, but I was very down on myself in my 20s, and I wouldn't allow myself to, which is why I think these contest shows are so terrible, because they get to, how do you make it in the business? You go on a contest show, and it's like they get these people. I think the worst disease is, how successful am I, and when is what I'm going to do pay off.
Right.
So that's what music became to me. And I was in top 40. But I just took, instead of going to like showcase clubs or like you do with comedy, I played top 40. I didn't know what I was doing because I was young and nervous. But it was probably great preparation for me because I didn't start stand-up until I was 28. And then that just like...
Right, you had done a lot of performing.
I'd done a lot of performing. And then that was I still think it's a very egalitarian way to stand up because it's like, there's clicks. All that stuff happens, but kind of anybody can come and do it. Mm-hmm. You know, if they want to do it. But most people, they just want to. Oh, can I do it 4 or 5 times and be
in that
proficient?
Headline? So I was reading an interview with you, and you said, I think you were talking about your relationship with Marin, but you said, and there's a quote, every 10 years or so, I hit rock bottom.
With him or in general?
Well, I was going to ask you.
No.
My sense was it was in general.
Yeah, no, because we've hit rock bottom together. So, you know, he's one of the seminal relationships of someone who, not seminal, I use words wrong all the time, but when he started his podcast, I remember I was on one of his first episodes. It's just like we're both in the hotel room and we both kind of given up. Mm-hmm. Now my stomach's rumbling. It's a nice combination. And then we did a tour together, me and Mark and Eugene Merman, and it was called, and his name, I loved it, but it really was. It was called Stand-Uppity. It was comedy that makes you feel better about yourself and superior to others. But it never took off. And we did a tour. This was before Eugene, I think, had more going on than both of us did. Mm-hmm. But we were both very, had hit rock bottom. And also we had gone as friends, we had gone through rocky different things. So once we became good friends, it was like one of these things, like we've both seen each other at our most stressed.
But when you say hit rock bottom, how do you mean?
Well, it's certainly not hitting rock bottom like an alcoholic or anything like that. It's like there have been times in my life where the only things that totally get to me is when I don't have enough money to pay my bills, and I've been lucky in the last 3 years. It's been just great, and when I say great, I mean like I'm still in debt, but things are coming in, you know. So I've had those kind of bottoms,
mm-hmm. Like but where you feel like you're not.
Yeah, I feel like
any success.
I'm not having any success, but it's hard to think about that now because, why I tell people who are stand-ups, you don't just, if you love it, don't give up, because I feel like I've made breakthroughs 23 years in. I've been doing it like almost 30 years now. And I make breakthroughs. It's not like any other thing, like music or anything. Mm-hmm. You know, like, and this is like Harper Lee. She wrote one amazing book. Now they found another one. I mean, there's some professions where when you're young or whatever, but with comedy, if your health is good, you can go on forever. So it's hard for me to remember the rock bottom right now because I'm doing okay. But it could happen quickly. And to me, it's always when you think you're going to be homeless, mm-hmm. and that's why. It's so terrible. You know, I have people like who have pulled my bacon out of the fire or whatever, my brother and people, you know, and I imagine there's so many people now. I don't know anybody gets old in this country now because it seems like it was never like this before where everyone's hanging by a thread. Folks, I always like to make you more depressed as I reveal my story. But is that what you? I think that's what the bottom.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But I'm basically a happy. I'm not happy, but I'm good natured. I got that from my dad. You wake up in the just except not in the morning like he was. He was too happy in the morning.
What are you like in the morning?
I'm okay. My wife and I are the same way, so we know to not say to each other, "Hi, sleepyhead." How's it going? Morning. Would you like some coffee? Hey, let's talk about the fact that we haven't done our taxes because we haven't done our 2013 taxes. We're 2 years behind, but they owe us money.
But you said that you feel like you're really yourself when you're on stage or doing comedy.
I think yes, and I think that the goal of my goal was always to be exactly as I am off stage, on stage. Except I know that my job is to, make people laugh.
Had you experienced that playing music? That feeling of really feeling like you're being yourself?
Very occasionally, and this is where comedians I think must be annoying to musicians because. I kind of feel like because I do paint. I do it all. I'm a quadruple threat. I do watercolors, and the way I am, it's like every time I started painting, I want it to be a masterpiece. I can't stand anything being study for years. I'm gonna paint the greatest painting right now. But the truth is the technique, and the technique of being a comic is doing it over and over. And for the first 15 years, if I didn't do it for a few days in a row, I would lose it. And so I think when musicians hear comments, go, "Oh, I would just love to." Yeah, it's not like maybe I do have some ability in that area, and I know that I do have some, but certainly writing songs to me was like pulling teeth. But so yes, I have felt that, but not consistently because I'm not as used to doing it.
Right. So I want to ask you about the State of the Union, but first I want to tell you guys about NatureBox. Life is hectic. Sometimes it's hard to make the best snacking choices, especially when you're hungry and looking for a quick pick-me-up. Would you agree, Andy?
I need this kind of a thing. I'm not getting any money for this, but I need this kind of thing because I have low blood sugar.
You do need this.
Yes.
You can get delicious and healthy snack options at naturebox.com. They have over 100 nutritionist-approved snacks. They have something for everyone, all with 0 artificial flavors, colors, or sweeteners, 0 grams trans fats, and no high fructose corn syrup. And I would recommend something like the Sriracha roasted cashews from NatureBox or pistachio power clusters, Big Island pineapple. They're all so good. And I want to give you guys the chance to try NatureBox for free with a trial box featuring 5 of their most popular snacks. You heard me, free snacks. By the way, you also heard me, trial box. I think I've talked before. I prefer something that has like a bunch of different things in it than just one big thing. That's just me. And you guys can get a free trial box. Start your free trial right now by going to naturebox.com/Allison. Again, that's naturebox.com/Allison to get a free trial box of delicious snacks. Okay, so you've been doing State of the Union at Just for Laughs for years and years and years, right?
Right, since like 1995, where I would say, what's wrong with comedy every year.
How did you start doing that?
I started because I did this thing in the mid-'90s at Montreal where it was like an autobiography of my life, and then that led to me doing when the Hacks Handbook came out.
State of the Industry is what I meant to say.
But I knew what you meant, and everyone calls it State of the Union, so
good.
Don't feel bad. And I did not want to be the guy who goes, but actually, Allison, it's State of the Industry. I hate to correct you, but I'm going to make things worse. When Hacks Handbook came out, I did a hack presentation up in Montreal with like Patton Oswalt and Blaine Capatch and all the guys who were around, and we demonstrated how to be terrible comedians. I'll never forget this one thing that Blaine and Patton did, where like they said the middle act's job is like the middle act would be the microphone stand for the headliner. It's very funny. So you'd be crackers leaning on top of the middle act. And then so that went really good, and then the head of the festival said, "You want to come back and do something else?" And next year, and that was my manager, Bruce Smith, he came up with the idea of the State of the Industry. It's his baby. And then it just every year since then it's happened. It's like it really is like a roller coaster, because it's like it has to be all new material. And then
Is that a challenge?
Oh, I don't want to make it like because I used to have a joke where Richard Marx, that's how old the joke was. Being in the music video is is the most boring thing in the world to do. And then my joke was, I realize there's people in the coal mines like saying, well, at least we're not making one of those music videos. So I don't want to make it like it's real work, like a job.
Right.
But it is all year. It's an hour of new material. Half of it is stuff I've come up with that are jokes that just happen to be industry oriented. And then the other half is just what I think would be funny or angry to talk about. Any
hints or teasers about what will be mentioned this year? Because it's July, right?
Yeah, so it's not, I'll probably, there's perennials. Just the fact that Leno, even though Leno's gone, I can still I've come up with Leno as a car that runs on the energy of all the people's dreams that he's crushed. I've been doing this joke, which I wrote many years ago, but I've been doing it every show now, which is, who died made Jim Belushi a big star. And then I love to go. I just hope Fallon goes on forever, because I love going after him. It's the amount of love that he seems to require or adoration or whatever that is he has to be
from. See, I actually don't know much about him. From the people around him who work for him, you mean? Or from the public?
From the actual product, which is like, hey, I'm going to sing like Bono.
Oh, right.
Like the Saturday Night Live thing. I don't want to see one more thing with him and Ashton Timberkutcher. Like, and then bing and the hoo hoo hoo.
I actually don't like that, yeah.
Yeah, this is my impression of all those guys doing the rap. And he hoo ha, he hoo. And it's like, yes, they never said about Johnny Carson that he was a great song and dance man. It's not required. So there's that. And CNN has a quiz show. That's going to turn it around. Let's take a dying, shame-based station. And what could save us? People like game shows. No, they don't like it that much, really. To be honest with you. They like Jeopardy still and Wheel of Fortune. Maybe they should have a reality show on CNN. Anderson's Big Brother. Anderson Cooper's. Yeah, have all the anchors. All your favorite CNN people. Mm-hmm. I can't think of. Jake Tapper. Maybe they should box. Jake Tapper or wrestle or something. Oh, yeah. So TV keeps getting worse and worse. But there's also great things. But I won't talk about that in my speech.
So why do you hate Leno?
I don't. Well, it's certain things aren't personal. But him, it does get to angry, though. Well, my big gripe with him is that he's disingenuous. And, like, to me, people think Letterman's like a curmudgeon. I love that he's honest. I like people who tell you what's really going on in comedy. That's why Jimmy Fallon, hey, everything's great. Hey, let's put on a dance, you know. But Leno, just the idea that just the fact that they said to him, hey, would you retire in 5 years? He goes, yeah, sure, I retire there, and sure, I agree. And then waits till Conan's writers move their families out here, and I think maybe I'll take back a Tonight Show. What do you think there? So. Yeah, but I'm not like want to have a fist fight with him. Everything goes back to the fist fight. I don't love Jay Leno. You got it out of me, Allison. You did get it out of me. But I really don't. It's not like I think about him like I think about Bill Maher. I mean, I really actively dislike Bill Maher. I don't feel that way about Leno.
Does Bill Maher know?
I think how could he not know? I mean, he must read his Twitter account sometimes.
But I mean, do you know him in life?
I met him and I was on his show a couple of times. And the thing is, one thing is a recurring theme is the things that a lot of times get me the most upset are things that I actually liked at one time. Mm-hmm. Like Ricky Gervais is impossible to watch. I used to love the original Office. Then he became such a jerk that he just you can't stop thinking about him as a jerk. I want to know how much is Netflix without Derek? How much? Can I get $1 off each month?
Well, with Gervais, because I read some of the things that you had said about him. Is the thing one of the things that bugs you most about him that he pretends he doesn't need as much, that he pretends he doesn't care if he's liked or not, but he so clearly does.
He says, I don't care what people think. Half of his tweets are, I don't care what you think. What do I care if you think? Mm-hmm. But he obviously does care. Be honest about it. And the other thing is he's always like bragging about how many mansions the worst thing he did that was just so hilarious. He advocates for animals, which is cool. He's for animal rights and everything. So he has a thing where he goes, this is the only kind of trophy hunting I believe in. And it's him in front of his awards. So it's like, and he loves these awards. If you're a comedian, you better pretend you don't love him that much. Mm-hmm. But he's like all about superficial, outside in thing. Yeah. And he's mean about people's weight. I can't stand any of that kind of thing. And he, obviously maybe he wasn't he's angry at himself because you always hear, I've gained too much weight. So it's like, such an obvious, you hate yourself and now you want to hate others. So
right. Is phoniness or disingenuousness like at the top of the list of things that set you off, would you say? Or
in showbiz, well, maybe because the type of comedy I do is where I'm pointing out things that when I see this, like everybody getting, and maybe I see it in myself, like, I'll give you an example. There's a guy named Chris Cillizza. I'm like a political junkie, right? And I covered the Republican National Convention a couple times. I'm not going to drop my credits, but it was for Letterman. So I see this guy, Chris Cillizza. I don't really like him on TV. He's just like mealy mouth. Mm-hmm. But I had to restrain myself from going up to him going, big fan. Because I've seen him. Mm-hmm. I know his face. It's a celebrity. So I get how they're all, there's a lot of ass kissing and lying to each other when everyone's. It's like, we're all in the successful bubble now. Let's not screw it up. I hate all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm the real thing, Allison.
No, I get that.
You know what I'm
You're
saying?
Keeping it real.
I'm keeping it real,
You're street.
and even if I'm not, I will fake that I'm keeping it real. Anybody who says that they keep it real has
Isn't.
to be the most phony person in the world.
Completely. You're kind of like a more grumpy Holden Caulfield.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure you get that all the time.
I get that. Not only do I get that all the time, but oh god, see, because I'm such a huge Lennon fan. That's all I can think of. That was the biggest tragedy for me until my dad died. But I mean, not really. But actually, it was when John Lennon died. I was like, oh my god, my whole world fell apart. And that's what the guy.
I hate that he was reading Catcher in the Rye.
But you know,
because
we
I really
can't
like
let
that
him.
book.
We can't let him hijack that book. That book is still fantastic.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Mark David Chapman, you lose.
He is a listener.
Why do all murderers have 3 names?
Do they have 3
No,
names?
it's just
or
the way
is it
they
just
do
that
it.
we call them by their middle name? Okay.
If I do anything terrible, like rob a bank, see, I would only pick the most glamorous of terrible things.
Yeah, right.
If I was a bank robber.
Anything terrible, like have sex with a ton of models.
Yes, if I did Yes, if I was caught because I was sleeping, but I would be. I wouldn't though. I'd be paying. That would be it. No one would. I wouldn't sleep with models. It would be prostitutes. See how it'd be bad.
Yeah.
Then you would find out I was Andrew David Kindler. Andrew
There
David
we go.
Kindler has frequented prostitutes.
And then it'd be like another one with 3 names.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what's hard when you don't have a middle name. Like what? Imagine if William Macy didn't have H unless he made it up.
Right.
Because William H. Macy, he's William H. Macy because there was a guy named Bill Macy, and he was on the show Maude. How long were we all out for?
So back to state of the industry.
Yes.
Do you feel like
Yes.
it gets
Old?
misinterpreted sometimes? Because when you read about what you say, it comes off, it has the potential to come off differently than when you actually listen to the way you're delivering it.
I've had every horrible thing happen, every horrible lesson that everyone learns. The year that I learned the terrible lesson was the year I went after Louis. And it was really a kind of thing where I know Louis is really talented, and I presented it that way, and I even said I have my own personal issues with him as a friend. And so the way it was presented is exactly how I wanted it to be done. But then what happened was I got interviewed about it right after it, and then a lot of people thought that was the roast. So I sound like an idiot. I sound like, well, you know what his problem is. But during the speech, I presented with humor. And so, yes, and a couple of times it wasn't my fault. It was like people were reporting on what they thought I said. And that wasn't what I said. People weren't even there. So I have figured out a way to prevent that from happening is the last 2 years, it's been released immediately after. Sirius, I think, has done it both years.
Yeah.
So then it's like, I don't have to then be interviewed about it. But there's no more, I mean, there are some journalists, but there's nothing that prevents these people from, like, these websites that come up, and they're not, like, a couple of these websites, they hadn't seen the speech. They were just,
Were you going to say they're not journalists?
well, they're not journalists, we know that, but there's this one guy who wrote, he wrote for like GQ, and his name is Drew Magary. I don't know, I had such a thing
Oh
with
yeah,
that
I know
guy.
that name.
Yeah, so he writes like that. He puts like the worst. It's like on GQ Online or Esquire. I don't know what the hell it is. I think it's GQ Online. The worst things of the week, and I'm on there with that guy Ariel Castro, or who's the guy?
Oh God, yeah. He chained women up.
Right. I'm on his gripe with him was that they allowed him to speak at his sentencing or something. And then number 2, Andy Kindler, and it was my state of the industry, and he had talked about the one, because I'm not taking advice from someone who does spot work on the Wizards of Waverly Place. So here's the thing. This guy was so lazy that he just couldn't fill out his list or whatever. And he didn't even see the speech. He's talking about the speech from last year.
Right.
So that kind of thing got me enraged.
Right.
Because I feel like it's not right to be misrepresented.
It's not. Well, it's because I've had the experience of reading what you said and then listening and realizing you're making, salient points, but it's delivered in a much more jovial way.
Right. Well,
It's not a rant.
It's not a rant, but now the thing is, I'm the first one to say, like, when it was with Louis, it was not because I respect him. And I think he's doing it. It's not like, but when I've accused people of racism, I am really accusing them of those things.
Yeah.
I'm saying what I'm saying is right. So I'd be lying if I'm saying there's not more sting to it.
Right. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you really are making these allegations, but it's not delivered in a like hectoring way.
If it was, well, like this last year where I read literally, I was reading the things that Anthony Cumia had said to this woman when he said he wasn't being racist.
Right.
And so I'm doing this at the speech, and I'm going, why is this not getting a good reaction? I realized, well, I'm reading horrible things.
Yeah, there wasn't much humor in it.
Where I want the laugh to be. And that's actually a thing I've had to realize on the speech in general is as it gets more towards straight anger, it's going to get less laughs, and then sometimes that's okay, but I try not to make it as strident because then no one laughs. I'm trying to do that online too. It's like it's better if I can say something funny about racists and these people or the Muslim people than when I let them get to me. You know.
Well, so a minute ago I said it's not a rant, or is it a rant actually?
Some of them are rants. There's always a part of every speech that is pure anger, but it really depends on the topic. Because I'm not going to get mad at, like I say, at Louis or even at Jay Leno. There's not the same venom. People might think I really hate Leno, but it's not the same thing as when I'm talking about like the Anthony Cumia thing, where I'm really, or Bill Maher. I'm really mad about that. And in fact, I'll say this: like some people I can't stand, like Dennis Miller and Bill Maher. I haven't really come up with that funny stuff on them. Occasional things, but because I hate them so much.
Yeah.
That
did you at one point like Bill Maher? I mean, Dennis Miller is what I meant.
Well, Dennis Miller's a perfect example. Yeah, I think everyone did. In the 90s, he did that black and white special, and then, but I'm also, there is a pure joy in hearing someone so terrible like that. I really do love it. Like I listened to him on the way home in the car, and he's like on a right-wing radio station, and he's doing commercials, and it's kind of fun.
Let's do Just Me or Everyone. This is a segment we do where people write in things they think or do, and they wonder, is it just me or is it everyone? And we tell them, and there's a song.
Sometimes I ponder on something I have thought or done. Is it just me or everyone?
All right.
I like that song.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank Trap Dog, who makes the music, actually.
And he did the theme song, too,
He did,
right?
yes.
All right, Trap Dog.
Chloe Y says, just me or everyone, when approaching a rotating door, I let it spin 2 full times to pick up the rhythm so I don't get stuck stepping in.
Yeah.
I don't know if I let it go 2 full times, but I definitely have to wait a beat. Same with an escalator.
I think it's the worst invention ever.
Yes.
And I'm surprised that it doesn't decapitate you every time.
Or take your foot off at the very least.
Because I'm not very bright, and people think I'm a genius, but, you know. I actually have a line that I say, some people say I'm a genius, and some say I'm hugely talented. I don't know where but I realized when I was sitting inside of a restaurant next to the reason why they do it is because it kind of like keeps the cold air from
right.
I'm the last part. I thought that was actually doing it so that the expression, what is this, a revolving door, could be done.
Maybe that came first. And then they're like, let's get one of those.
But I always thought it was to get the most people out. But I think it's more about keeping the weather.
I think it's the weather, yeah. But that should mean that there's fewer of them out here on the West Coast.
Are there a lot of them? There's not a lot of traffic circles out here, are there?
I hate traffic circles.
That's like New Jersey.
Yes. I don't understand the benefit of them, and I'm always afraid that I'm going to get in an accident in them. I can't figure them out.
Well, the reason why they have them is that in most cities, it's some kind of like natural growth, like a rock. Mm-hmm. That's my joke there. That it's constantly a circle around some kind of like a dinosaur bones.
Right. So they have to.
I say things are a joke, but then I don't actually supply the humor. I've noticed sometimes.
But sometimes the setup is enough.
My setups are the best in the business.
Okay, James L. Wilson says, Dear sports talk people, it's not asterisk or asterix. It's asterisk, pronounced just as it's spelled. Yes, but that is not something that bothers me.
Well, I don't think it was. Is it that rampant?
Enough for this guy to notice and write in about it.
Yeah. I don't think, I guess that would. I'm not spelling and language things. Although I do when people don't say supremacist. Like I think it's supremacy. It's white supremacy, and a lot of people say it's a white supremacist.
Oh,
yeah,
as opposed to supremacist.
Yeah,
They'll
but they don't
drop
get
the
that
cis.
angry about it.
Yeah.
It's not like they said asterisks.
All right. Willie Global says, I time my tweets for when I think they will be most likely to be read. Hashtag East Coast, West Coast, hashtag this is a bad example. No, I'm not like that. I really should. I should space out my tweets, but I don't have the patience.
My wife makes the same allegation towards me. She says, why are you doing this? Well, first of all, again, because I'm addicted to it. Why at 2 a.m. with your brilliant philosophical tweet? But no, I can't think that way. I just don't. Every once in a while, I'll think, all right, I'm going to wait till prime time.
What is prime Twitter time? 1 p.m.? I think 1 p.m. For some reason, that stands out in my head is like, that's the time.
I think if you're, it could be anywhere from like 10 in the morning till 9, 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But the thing about Twitter that's kind of cool is you never know what's going to go, what people will retweet. Like
right.
I come up with stuff, I go, oh, I'm a genius. This will get me everything. This will answer all my problems. And then nobody likes it.
Yeah, I remember Pete Holmes was on this show. This was the very first episode of this show, actually. And Pete Holmes was talking about a tweet where as soon as he sent it, he's like, here it comes.
Yeah.
All the faves. And then there was just nothing. That's happened to me before, too. And then, yeah, there'll be one that you don't, if you just write hi,
yeah, then
you'll get a bazillion.
Twitter is a harsh mistress.
It really is. It really is. James L. Wilson of the Asterisk guy also says, when a drug ad disclaimer includes may cause suicidal thoughts, how is that a good ad? Well, it's just legal. Yeah.
They're not saying that the part where they go and may cause your kidney to turn into a liver. They're not claiming that's the part that's... Although I love in those commercials, they have to do all these disclaimers. I love what they're doing while they're saying that. Like
they're always frolicking.
Yeah, they're always like on a sailboat.
Mm-hmm.
Your skin will explode. Not really. It's not so bad. Those people are having ice cream while you're saying it.
They're not experiencing sudden death. It must be Matt says. Wait. Back to the whole disclaimer though. They all have ultimately the same disclaimer, right? It feels like it's all the same.
Well, because there's a lot of side effects that are similar.
Right. Okay.
Dizziness, hysteria, Judaism, may cause Judaism.
It must be Matt says, when I'm listening to music, I'll have a certain song in mind, but I just skip songs on shuffle until I find it. That seems really ineffective. It seems
What's
really...
he doing? He's on shuffle.
Yes, he's on shuffle, but he has a certain song in his head, and he'll just keep shuffling until he finds it. That just seems inefficient.
That seems like, yes.
Unless he has not very much music on his iPod.
Or he can't
iPhone.
Remember the song that he wants to hear.
Right. Marv Earthling says, just me or everyone, feel weird when I hear kids under 13 using profanity, even though I did it when I was their age. Yeah, I do have a thing. I feel like it's like I'm not nimble around ages anymore. If I'm around little kids, I feel like I need to change. And if I'm like, I had Wink Martindale on the show, and my husband makes fun of me because apparently at one point I said, "Oh my goodness." Like my whole vernacular changed because I was like, he's, I have respect for him and he's venerable and he's been around, and I started speaking slightly differently.
His first name is Wink, though.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's got a lot to answer for.
Yeah.
No. Oh my goodness, that is weird. I don't see his. Well, I don't. I'm aware. I never care. I don't care what language people have. Like it's going to offend me, but when people use when they just go curse or whatever the word is, just every other word just gets. I do get sometimes like I'll notice if someone is so blue in their regular language, it just seems odd to me.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to start a campaign like you are. With Jerry Falwell, if he's still alive.
But when you hear kids under 13 cursing?
I think in general, I remember, but cursing was always a delicacy when I was a kid. Wait till the parents aren't here. Why should they? But I would never say, hey, what the fuck's going on, Mom and Dad? That wasn't me.
No, your parents encouraged you to be nice.
You made it sound so terrible in a way. Yeah, be nice. Even if it's phony.
Dulcica17 says, in-ear, ear-specific headphones are annoying. Most of the time, put wrong side in on first attempt. See, I don't even think it matters, but I know what you mean.
What do you mean?
Like
well,
with
they
your
got the
earbuds.
wrong side in. They mean like they put the right. If you
The
put
right and the left and the
yeah,
left and the right.
sounds like
yeah.
they went. They put like the cord in.
Right. Right. The plug does not go in. Angela McLeod says, hate filling windshield washer fluid because it doesn't all fit. I pour the rest in the squeegee holder or toss it. I never save it. I don't mean to sound sheltered, but I feel like I've never poured windshield wiper fluid in my windshield
If you're
wiper
doing things
reservoir.
right, you shouldn't have to, Allison.
Okay, thank
This is
you.
something that
It's a sign.
my wife has never. She doesn't have to. My wife, who does a million things, she loves that I fill the car up with gas and do all those type of things. I can't do anything real with the car. I don't. You'll never hear me say, "Let's put it up on blocks and see what's cooking."
Right.
What's cooking down there? Oh,
You speak like a
I
mechanic.
want to be like. Oh, that's like I want to be a doctor like that. Oh, Allison, I think you have a condition. Well, it's the same thing with the car. I want to go. Oh, here's your problem, Saul.
That's who would come to you.
Yeah.
Huh. So you do all the car stuff in your marriage.
I do things like make sure the windshield wiper. But you know what? But that is a thing. In the old days, when I was in my teens and 20s, it seemed like I spent 7 or 8 hours a day putting in windshield wiper fluid. But now it feels like there's a lot in there or something, or you don't use it as much.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done it in a long time. If I have to go get antifreeze, oh man, it's very. And they have to get like a paper cone thing. Yeah. People don't know how we suffer these days in America.
No.
First world problems.
I hate when people
I know,
say
it's
that.
the worst.
That's-
Especially on Twitter. I hate
Yes.
when people on Twitter, anytime they say, why don't you tweet this? Or why aren't you doing this thing that I like? Because I'm not a puppet,
Right. You're not
is what
there.
I say to them.
And finally, Cosmo Demonic says, fondue restaurants are too much work. Just me or everyone. I have never been to a fondue restaurant.
I have.
I would like to go to one.
Fondue restaurants are not work because what would be work is if you had to do the
Fondue
goo.
at home, yeah.
Yeah, but when you go there, unless you're getting very. Is this person?
Maybe she goes to the kind of restaurant where they just give you like sterno and a block of cheese.
I think what she's saying is it demonics?
Cosmo Demonic.
Cosmo, are you saying the actual dipping into the thing and eating is work? Because a lot of food you have to take from the plate to your mouth. So what does it matter? I think it's easier to eat. I think
Right.
everything should be done fondue style, including pasta.
So what do you just have like a pot of sauce and you dip
I
the
was
noodle
hoping
in?
there wouldn't be a follow-up question.
Sorry.
No, you would. It'd be a pot of gurgling pasta. Who doesn't love it?
Are there fondue restaurants out here?
There's one up in the valley that I went to.
Is there something called like the melting pot?
That's it. That's the one
Sounds
on the
like a
Ventura
fondue
Boulevard.
restaurant, yeah.
I've been there.
Is it? Would you recommend it?
I would, but come on.
I feel like
it's
I've gone
not-
too many years on this earth to not have been to a fondue restaurant. I've never fondued.
Yeah, I don't think it's okay, but you're not gonna. And then the dessert one's always nice because it's chocolate sauce.
I could get into that. I
But
think.
you know, when we go, I don't go to a hula hoop rink either. Hula hoop.
Are they the same hula hoop rinks?
No, they
and
weren't
fondue
actually.
restaurants?
I don't go to ice skating. I have weak ankles. I think you can tell that by looking at me, Allison.
I mean, I'm not blown away by it, but I didn't know for sure.
It's like my ankles must have been, at some point been meant to fold up and put in a compartment. Because I can't.
That's nice. You have portable ankles.
I can't go 1 foot on the ice. I don't know how I was an NHL star.
When was the last time you skated? Because my
People
understanding,
feel my career, I've skated.
my understanding is that back in the day, the ice skates didn't have a lot of support, but now they have a lot of support.
Oh, well, maybe I could do it then.
That's what I'm
'Cause
saying.
I learned
Because now
back
they're
in the
like
day.
plastic.
Oh, okay. Well, then
They're
I'm
all
gonna be-
reinforced and stuff.
You've actually made me actually think that I could try this again. at some
I think
point.
you should. I've been this unlike the crusade that I went on earlier. I can't even remember what it was about. That's how frequently I crusade. I don't know what it was, but I actually have a crusade where I'm trying to get people to go ice skating with me. Very few takers. My husband is convinced he'll break something. He's never ice skated.
Well, I mean, I think he's got a good point.
I know,
mean,
I do too. That's why I haven't.
And also,
forced
I
the
don't
issue.
even like the regular skating with the,
roller skating.
Yeah, I can't do
No,
that.
roller skating is
Ice skating's
things
more
fly
fun?
out in all directions,
Yeah.
like your legs and your back. No, I think that it's much easier to control yourself on the ice.
That's true.
You just glide.
I think I'm creaky. I think
no,
my
I
whole
think that was
bone-
me.
Oh.
I think that was me. Now I'm creaking.
I thought you were going to have a buffet spread here, but no,
well, if there's one thing people love, it's the sound of people eating on podcasts.
they love it.
They love it. They can't get enough.
I have to admit though that I think I was maybe slightly. Excuse me. That was definitely me. I think I'm doing that frog impression. I have a memory of being somewhat sexually excited by roller derby when I was a kid, watching those ladies. Is that wrong?
I don't think that's wrong.
And even now when I see them, because they've had comics who have emceed those events.
Is that something you'd like to do?
I like women going in fast speeds around me.
So then, are you also into women who run? I'm trying to. What are other
every kind of woman.
women's speed events?
Even though when you're married, what's happening to me? You'll cut all that out. When you're married, I find I'm still attracted to every woman in the world. I thought that would go away at some point. Luckily, I was never a player.
Right. You get out.
Yeah, I was never a good come on guy. Like I told my wife, I didn't marry her, I'd be in a clinic somewhere blind.
So really,
I love all women.
The
All
attraction
women.
has not gone down at all now that you're. I mean,
Well-
but that's what I hear doesn't happen. You just keep looking always.
I now, when I see women who are clearly 18 or 21, I am not attracted. It's like I see
but
that
19
they're,
or 20, yes,
well, if I don't know their age, you can't get arrested for that, right?
right.
You know, but I think I'm changing that way. I think I am maturing. It used to be like I couldn't go outside. I think. I just like when I first came out to LA, I lived in the South Bay. I was like, oh my God, why am I here? This is not for me. This is for a man who has calves.
Mm-hmm.
No, but so yes, I love women who work out. I love women who don't work out. I like a school marm.
You like them all. It sounds like.
But I do now realize that women, when they're younger, that it's not attractive. There's no, because you can kind
That's
of somehow. It is good.
It is good. Yeah.
But I think men are really, there's something wrong with them, actually.
Do you talk to your wife about this?
My wife knows that that I look around. I mean, it's like, I'm not look around, but, you know,
You
she'll say to
notice.
me, she'll go, easy, old man. She'll say that. Easy, grandpa, that kind of thing. So, no, we get along now better than we've ever gotten along. That's a good thing.
That is a good thing.
Because we had been through relationships when we started going. We fought like cats and dogs for a few years, and then we didn't get married until like 10 years in or something like that.
How did you stop fighting like cats and dogs?
We just got through all that. I think men, I don't know. I always think like men have intimacy problems, and maybe everybody does. I think my wife had intimacy problems that were just different. Mm-hmm. You know.
Did you guys go to couples counseling or anything
No,
like that?
I'm a perfect person in many ways. I'm like a dream come true. I really
So it
am.
must have been hard for her as just a mere
Very
human
hard.
to
It's
adjust,
very-
right?
yes. How do I make this god, this hunk, happy? And that's been one of the things is like I could have taken a lot of these Iron Man roles and Avenger things. That's not what I want to do.
Well, then you'd get typecast, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Many people think I'm too handsome to do comedy.
How do you typically answer when that comes up?
No, well, I don't know. It's so ludicrous. I'm tired of making jokes about how I don't know. It's like I think women in general have so much pressure about looks. I don't look, but I think there are men like this too. But I never look in the mirror and see anything really. I don't want things hanging out. I want to make sure all the hair. There's no hair. I don't want. I see like older men with their ear hair. I don't want. No, you, and that's your wife's job is to make sure it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm. But beyond that, you're cool with it?
Well, I want to look good. I don't want to be in a gym. Here's what I don't want to be in. I don't want to be in a gym that faces the street. That to me,
Yes.
is something odd about that.
My husband and I were driving. We had a doctor's appointment at, I'm trying to get pregnant. That's why I'm using this disgusting we language. We had a doctor's appointment at 9 a.m. on a Saturday. And we drove down the street, and I kept being like, it feels really good to be up and out this early. And we drove by a building, and there were people running on treadmills. And I was like, who's working out at this time? And he was like, it's 9 o'clock. It's not that early.
It's early.
But 9 o'clock on a Saturday, to me, that is still early. Like, that is a real, whoever is on a treadmill at 9 a.m. on a Saturday, it's proving something.
They're in it to win it. And I don't like that.
Right. What's the opposite of in it to win it? Because I like to be around those people.
Yeah,
just hanging out.
It's like you go to if you want to have an activity, you go to a farmer's market. That's what you do on Saturday morning.
Right, and if you get there before it closes, then you're like, hey, I made the most of the day.
Yeah, you get and you have candy. But to go to a gym, I don't like gyms in general. They're not my scene.
What is your scene?
Like I will go for a run. I will. I think I'm dying. I've never had this happen to me before. I have such good manners, and yet I'm. I think ever since I talked about catching frogs, I've been croaking. But I don't even like. I used to be a runner, and I don't like running anymore. I don't like. I mean, I do like martial arts. Is the only thing I still like to do.
And do you go to Is it?
I study private. It's Korean. It's a taekwondo, so it's a dochang, and but I study privately. Kind of. I used to go and play basketball all the time, but then I get hurt all the time.
It's because of your foldable ankles.
Foldable ankles, and at some point in your life, you don't need to be like under a backboard, rubbing up aggressively, trying to keep a guy out of your grill. Not in my house. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
If I want to bang up against somebody, it has to be by mistake. Like I fell down an escalator.
Well, Andy Kindler,
I'm not a mountain climber.
You're not?
No. I used to have this joke where I showed my mom one of these 3D books, and she looked at it and she goes, "You think this is good for your eyes?" That sums up my whole family.
What I was going to say was, it's been delightful having you on the show.
I hope I didn't go on too long.
You did not.
And I did too much.
You were perfect.
Too serious.
No, it was It was perfect. Everything was perfect. I could have even gone for more serious.
You're gonna take out all of my folks. I don't know why I'm croaking. It's not like I drank soda. I just think I don't know. Maybe I don't know what it is, but I'm okay. I'm gonna go from here to get some tests done.
On the croaking. Find out.
Yeah. I don't want to croak literally before I croak.
No.
I hope that's my closer. I don't want to croak before I croak. Good night, Cleveland. This was really fun.
This was delightful.
I am going to probably have a meal. Maybe that's what I should have. Maybe I haven't eaten enough today.
Maybe that's the source of the croaking. You guys, if you're going to buy something on Amazon, which you're going to because they have everything, click through the banner on my website at AlisonRosen.com. It doesn't cost you anything extra. It does help out the show. And I want to thank you so much for all of the amazing Amazon support. And also on my website on the right side, AlisonRosen.com, there's PayPal links. Thank you for all the PayPal support. We have a ringtone available.
Hey, go fuck yourself.
You can get that by searching Hey Go Fuck Yourself on your iPhone in the iTunes store. And you need this ringtone. It'll make your life so much cheerier. We also have 2 special bonus episodes available recorded live at the LA Podcast Festival. First one with Doug Benson and Greg Proops. The next one with Doug Benson, musician Matt Costa, and all of the Departed Thursday Gang. And those are $1.99 in the comedy album section of the iTunes store. You can get those just by searching Alison Rosen in iTunes. Andy, tell people where they should go to find you and plug anything you want to plug.
What day is this in real life?
They will be listening to this on Monday.
Oh, well, please go to Cedar Rapids. Who isn't going to? Everybody in Cedar Rapids. I'll be there next weekend at a club that I can't remember the name of. And then at the end of the month, I'm going up to Winnipeg.
Winnipeg?
Yeah, and then April, I'm at Moon Tower. People could see these dates on my website if I kept it up to date. What you need to do is follow me at Andy Kindler and just hope that you come online when I'm promoting something. And then I'm supposed to have a CD come out. And I'm the voice of Mort on Bob's Burgers and things like that. That was the weakest plugs.
I feel like it was good. And people should go to your website if for no other reason than to read the Hacks
Handbook. That's right.
Hacks Handbook, which is under, there's like a link that takes you to essentially miscellaneous. It's like
Right.
all the other
It's
stuff.
like all of the above. Oh,
Yeah.
and I do a show once a month at Meltdown.
Oh,
It's called Andy Kindler's Particular Show.
what goes on there?
It's me hosting, and then I'm very particular about the comedians.
So everyone should go to that, everyone who's in LA.
Everyone's in LA once a month at Meltdown, which is a wonderful venue.
Perfect. You can follow me on Twitter at Alison Rosen. Excuse me. Now I have something in my throat. Follow the show's Twitter
self-conscious,
feed
yeah.
at ARIYNBF. You can email us ARIYNBFshow@gmail.com. And I think that's it. Oh, wait. Papers. What am I saying? Now that the show's over, don't forget to go to naturebox.com and sign up to get your free sampler box of great tasting, wholesome snacks. Forget the vending machine and start snacking smarter with delicious treats like barbecue kettle kernels. Go to naturebox.com/Allison. That's naturebox.com/Allison. Okay, you guys.